Hello and welcome to Everyday Petrolhead. I'm your host Terrence Anderson and welcome to my channel. So I decided to do something a little different because this is a little more detailed than I normally tend to talk about on the channel. So I didn't want to be driving and trying to rifle off a bunch of details at the same time. I didn't think that was a good idea, especially since I don't have them memorized. Normally when I do it, I have everything completely memorized. I've already done full research, but because of what I was specifically talking about today, I thought it was a better idea to park the car and talk directly to you instead of talking to you while driving at the same time with this much detail. I didn't think it was a good idea. So, what are we talking about today? We're talking about software coding on a platform. And the brand I chose for this, obviously because I own one, is BMW. Now, the reason why I say that BMW is one of the most versatile platforms when it comes to coding and programming and various types of tuning is because there's so much software out there. And for the purpose of this video, we're going to skip anything that has to do with tuning. So no JB4, no MHD tuning. There's a slew of them. We're just going to skip those because we're not talking about performance enhancements. What we're talking about is diagnostics and resetting, clearing, and checking for issues. Those are the things we're covering. Software that does that and does it very well. Although some of these softwares on the deeper level can change your performance characteristics, they're not primarily focused on tuning. They're really just diagnostic software. Now, I'm not trying to say these softwares replace a mechanic, but they are a good starting point for diagnosing, problem solving, and changing the characteristics of your car to personalize it for your needs. If it's above your pay grade, go to a good mechanic. Also for this list, I'm going to skip certain programs such as DIS and Program Man and SSS. Now, although those programs still do a lot of stuff for BMW cars, I couldn't find enough reliable locations to find the software and find it legitimately working for me to say, let me use this software. So we're just going to skip those altogether. Several of them I found to be severely outdated. So first on my list, arguably, is probably the easiest one to get into. It's called Carly. Carly is a Bluetooth or Wi-Fi adapter that is paired with software on your iOS or Android device. The great thing about this is if you have an Android stereo or Apple CarPlay, you can actually have that app on the stereo in your car and connect it to your OBD2 via Bluetooth or Wi-Fi, or possibly directly connected via USB. That's something we can get into on another day, but that is pretty cool. So what does Carly do for you? It allows you to diagnose problems at the basic level, clear code, and oil adaptations, which is basically reset your oil lifespan for various things in your car. Now, the bonus with Carly is there is a version for Mercedes. It's mostly available overseas in Europe, but I'm sure you can get a copy of it for America if you have a Mercedes. So that's actually a nice little bonus. At its basic level, it does generic scanning of your vehicle and lets you know what's going on. You can select your model BMW for specific features that are readily set up for it. Now, that's the beautiful thing about Carly. You can select your BMW model from a list of BMWs available that Carly can easily work on for you. It'll do a general diagnostics of all of your BMW modules, or at least all the ones it can see. Some cars, it can't see all of the modules. This is why I listed as the first one, because at its best, it's very rudimentary in the way it works, but it does do a lot of work for the money. It also has a coding feature for your car that allows you to code various things, like when you lock the door, automatically fold in your mirrors, or when you open your car doors or unlock your car, the sunroof opens, the windows come down to let the heat out of your car. This is great for SoCal weather when it's like 100 degrees outside, it's like 150 degrees inside the car, and you just want to vent the heat really quick before you actually get in the car. It's a cool little feature. I tend to refer to Carly as coding for dummies. This is not to say that anybody who owns Carly is a dummy, so I don't want you to think like that. My thinking is, if you don't really want to get into the nitty-gritty of how to code your car, Carly is absolutely for you. It does it for you. It has very simple stuff that deals with the lights, the mirrors, and various other features dependent upon your model of BMW. With a few clicks in different windows, you're done. The cool thing about Carly with coding is Carly will allow you to back up a copy of your system's image before you go and start tampering with it. The good thing about that is that you essentially have a backup point. So in case you screw it up, you can always put it back together. Next on my list is BMW Scanner 1.4 or 1.6, also known as PA Soft to several people. This is one of my favorite softwares. It's a deeper dive into your car over Carly. Now, where Carly skins the table of your actual computer for your car, BMW Scanner goes deeper and it will show you every single module available for your car. So the difference here is Carly will only see the ones it can see, whereas PA Soft will see all of them and then tell you which ones are available for your car, meaning these are the ones that your vehicle specifically has available. As an example, in Europe, BMWs come with a VHF, UHF antenna option for the stereo, so you can actually watch TV in the car. That's a separate module. Because my car doesn't come with that, it lists the module, but that module is not available. And just like Carly, it can also clear codes, clear adaptations, but it can also diagnose things with manufacturer codes. This is important because it allows you to see the manufacturer level code for each individual item in your car when something goes wrong. Usually with most OBD2 readers, you'll get a generic code and then you'll have to go online and go and see what that code corresponds to. And sometimes with some cars, it corresponds to several different things. So with the BMW codes from the manufacturer and the fact that PA Soft or BMW Scanner sees that specific code, that helps you narrow down the actual problem in your vehicle. And one of the best things about the software is its ease of use. Within, I want to say 1 to 2, possibly 3 times using it, you pretty much have the gist of how it works down packed. You can also do some light coding of your car. When I say light coding, I mean it will allow you to save a copy of the module's codes and edit the codes and then put it back in. It doesn't necessarily show you how to do that. You still have to already know how to do that. So if you have a general idea of how that works, more power to you. Now, although BMW Scanner does allow you to copy the code from your different modules, you have to already know how to edit those codes. So it's good and bad. I don't necessarily think that I want to get into coding with that software, but if I knew the code language for the actual car, then absolutely something you can dabble with. And I love that you didn't have to go and spend tons of money to get those features. And that's one of the things that makes BMW Scanner PA Soft awesome. It also helped me figure out some of the issues I was having with my car and start to narrow down where those problems are. But the next software was much more instrumental in me narrowing it down to exactly what was causing the problem. PA Soft or BMW Scanner requires a laptop for use, and it comes with its own dedicated USB OBD2 dongle. Works really, really well. But again, just keep in mind that it runs on an older OS. So Windows 7 works really well, preferably 32-bit. 64 can work, but 32-bit is preferred. INPA. INPA is an amazing piece of software. Again, reasonably priced because it is an older software and people don't really use it anymore. So very easy to get your hands on it. And the beautiful thing about INPA is it's an intro to expert level coding for your car. Now, INPA will not only do what the other two do, but it will also do a deeper dive into the DME, the transfer case, the transmission module, as well as the chassis module. The chassis module or the body module controls a lot of different things in this car. And you can get in there and figure things out much more in depth. At a glance, one of the features that I love about it is when you're looking at the DME for the engine, you can actually see not only that you may or may not be having problems, but you can see tolerance levels for each of your individual cylinders. I have a V8, so all 8 show up. It shows me within what tolerance the engine is performing. It can show me which ABS sensor, speed sensor, is telling me the wrong information if my car is telling me something incorrectly, so I know which one to pull or which one to keep. It could even check the ride height sensors and the pressure levels inside of my air suspension. So I have airbags at all 4 wheels, and it can tell me which one is not performing correctly and if I need to change that specific one or if the whole system is not getting pressurized correctly. I've had this problem once or twice before, and thanks to this software, I found out that it wasn't anything wrong with it. It was a glitch, and I was able to resolve the problem using INPA. I also use this to diagnose my problem with the DSC in my car. Currently the light is on my car, and I thought there was a problem with my transfer case, so I changed the gear in my transfer case, which needed to be changed anyway. I checked the motor was fine, so I wasn't sure why it wasn't engaging, but it's not engaging because the steering angle sensor on my car is old and worn out and needs to be replaced. That was very helpful information for me because I was worried that it was one of many other things that cost a lot of money, and lo and behold, it's basically this sensor that I need to take care of. Now, on most BMWs, it's in the steering wheel, like really up close underneath the airbag. Mine, of course, it's way down on the shaft of the actual steering column. So I'll get to it. It's not really causing a problem, but as you can see from the pictures here, it's showing my wiper for the left far off to the left, and the wiper for the right is where it's supposed to be in the middle. So the goal in the near future is to resolve that problem, and thanks to INPA, I was able to reset it, clear it, see it saying that, okay, the car is fine, no more light, and as soon as I turned the steering wheel all the way to the left, the light came back on. That diagnosis told me that the sensor's left arm is broken, and these are not the sensors on the actual axles, it's literally the one on the column. Easier to pay for to fix, and a little bit more cumbersome to resolve, but I'm just going to disconnect it and do it myself. This software saved me a lot of time and money, as I didn't have to go rooting around in forums trying to figure out what's going on, and it gave me the exact code and item that needed to be replaced. So that is beyond helpful. INPA needs a laptop to be installed, and I found that it works best on a machine that's dedicated to Windows 7, 32 or 64-bit. I know some people have gotten it to work on Windows 10, but I have a computer dedicated to it with Windows 7 32-bit, and it works perfect. I'm never touching that machine again. The last one on my list is called ista-d Rheingold, or INSTA-D Rheingold. This is a BMW mechanic level workstation software. So this is like legit software. It is probably the most expensive on the list, ranging anywhere from $100 to $200 to buy, depending on where you buy it. I know there's some versions out there, that you can find and figure out how to get it to working, but if you really want it to work, buy the legit software. Just like INPA, it's mostly in German, although I've found copies in English, and it includes a full database of information about all BMW models. The last version I found supported the F chassis BMWs, which means it essentially supports every BMW up till 2018. That is awesome. That alone is worth the money. And in the first 1 or 2 repairs, it's paid for itself. It is also the largest software to install, primarily because it takes up between 50 and 200 gigs of space on a laptop. So on top of being the size that Insta is, it also works with Windows 10. I've seen a couple of people get it to work that way. The guy who used his to diagnose mine had a Windows 7, and that worked well for me. I'm actually working on building out a machine just with Windows 10, just for that, and I'm going to purchase the software myself to do a deeper dive into my car. Now, the bonus and the reason why this size is so necessary is the ginormous database of information. You have all the specs, you have diagnostic information, as well as pictures of everything and all the parts of your car right at your fingertips. Now, most people would say, oh yeah, you can just Google this information. But the good thing about this is that you don't necessarily have to do that. I mean, that's time consuming. You're gonna go online, you're gonna dig for what you're looking for, you're gonna get stuck on a couple of forums, people are gonna name things all sorts of different things, and you're just gonna get frustrated. Insta, you open up, you diagnose your car, you get a code for what's wrong. It tells you which things you need to look at. If it's a problem with the camshaft position sensor, it tells you which one, and the part number, and a picture of where it is in the car. So in that alone, it's already saving you time. You're not digging around the internet trying to figure this out. It's all right there one time. And we all know time is precious, so that is an amazing thing about this software. It can also do an extensive level of coding for your car. So one of the things that is an issue with BMWs, it's not so much that you want to use it as a workaround, but it does work. So we all know when airbags deploy out of a car, they're pretty much done. They tend to be very expensive to replace. Usually you've already had a very massive accident of some sort. And BMW had problems with the passenger seat, the front passenger seat sensor not working correctly. And in an accident, there is a chance that the front passenger airbag may not necessarily deploy. The workaround, if your car has this problem, now I'm not saying that you should do this just cause. If there's a problem with your car and you don't know what you're doing, go see a mechanic and get it done correctly. But if there's a workaround for it, if you don't want to get the sensor replaced in the seat, you can use this software to program the sensor for the passenger side to deploy when the sensor for the driver's side deploys. That's probably going to happen anyway. And the beautiful thing about that is not only did you save yourself money, but you've told the car, in case of an accident, treat the passenger like the driver and protect everyone in the front. That is perfect. If it's a side impact, same deal. All those different things can be set up just in case of an emergency. And in most cases, when you have a major accident, all of those things are going to deploy anyway, and you're going to end up having to pick up a new car anyway. If the airbag is deploying, it meant it was a really bad accident. So this is a nice little feature in case you're having those problems. So there you have it. What I consider the best software to buy for, a person getting into coding your car. Let me know if any of you have these, and also tell me what you think of them, how you've used them, and how you've benefited from them, the pros and cons. List it down below in the chat, and if you have any that you've been using that I've never heard of, I would love to check those out. If you like what I've been talking about, like, share, and subscribe, and join me next time on Your Everyday Petrolhead. Thanks.